You may be wondering what the difference between self-compassion and self-esteem. Self-esteem is defined as the positive and negative evaluations we hold about ourselves or how we feel about ourselves. Self-compassion, on the other hand, has all of the benefits of self-esteem without the drawbacks because it excludes the self-criticism that is not linked to the social comparison the way self-esteem is. You may be aware that psychologists extol the benefits of self-esteem until recent research linked high self-esteem with narcissism, unstable self-worth, and distorted self-perception. Describes it. Our self-esteem bounces up or down like a ping pong ball based on our latest and successful failure. Self-compassion is there for us when we succeed, but it stops in precisely when self-esteem deserts us, and that's when we fail or are humiliated in some way that edge there to caught us. Self-compassion is linked with pure social comparisons and the less contagious self-worth. Making pure social comparisons I'm sorry, can come in handy, especially when clips being into other sports on social media or internet, which increasingly compounds the negative effects of self-comparison. We'll discussing more on social media later. Between the between the stimulus and the response, there is a space, and in this space lies in our power and our freedom. Yes, the stimulus and the response. We can be mindful of all and any aspects of our life experiences, including sensations in our bodies, feelings, thinking, seeing, smelling, hearing, touching, tasting. Ideally, presence will permeate as many of our moments as possible, a total for sure. But the point is that presence and mindful awareness can become more and more a way of life, a baseline way of being. Research reveals that presence is a learnable skill. Remember, it's practice self-taught. There are two complementary ways to realize this transformative potential of being present or mindful: formal and informal. Formal practice and have a specified form, including structure and duration. Examples include mindful awareness practices such as mindfulness meditation, yoga, tai chi, or kuen gong. Informal practice and have no specific form, a specified form, but are no less important than formal practices. Examples include feeling the rain on your face, being fully present for a conversation with a friend, or catching the sunset and paying attention to negative lights a show. The informal practices are important in realizing the full transformative potential of presence in our daily lives. Okay, both confident or cheerful. That's how I've always kept myself present. Present, she described feeling empowered. Brewer calls the brain pleasure-seeking machine. As it explains, once we teach the brain the resting calmly in the present feels better than our habitual state of seeking, then over time the brain will actually want more mindfulness. It turns out that our levels of well-being, resilience, and impulse control can be enhanced. Imagine how refreshing it would be if you could refresh your monkey mind morning with a more peaceful start, such as mindfully drinking a cup of tea, taking a walk, or some other practice that brings you in an inner sense of calm. When our brains resist stimuli, they do their job by first distorting all of the stimuli that come our way, then looking for patterns, and finally constructing categories and concepts in order to make a sense of an input based on our previous experiences. This information flow can be called a top-down processing. and it often serves us very well. Actively noticing differences is the key to presence, and that is our aspect that gets in the way. Our way of understanding this is that in a top-down process means that our minds are filled with memories, stories, and experiences from childhood on, which can sometimes imprison us and get in the way of being able to have a fresh look at something. Ironically, the more expert we become, the less we can see, because we are learning from past experiences and filters in our perception. Part of our eagerness to always fill in the blanks is because our brain prefers an answer over ambiguity, and we like knowing, or at least thinking that we know. When we provide a story that our brain protect us, it's happy and we can enjoy the chemical reward from the story regardless of its accuracy. This phenomenon explains in part why just be present sounds so simple and yet in the process is so hard to incorporate into our lives. Getting comfortable with uncertainty and the not knowing is a part of our challenge. Not knowing is okay. By contrast, with the bottom-up processing we receive and perceive input directly through our five senses, seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, and touching. We can even feel what scientists call our sixth sense introspection, or our way of feeling of sensation of the body. Introspection, okay? This is the way of noticing, free of filtering through prior expectations or judgments. Langers's research shows that when you create a mindful state that can be understood as bottom-up, as experiencing spaciousness and an ability to see details, which in turn allows us to live more fully in the present. Nothing lasts, but it's finished. Nothing is perfect. Or are the myths about ourselves and managing our lives that still have a hold on us. When I started listening more deeply, not only to our own inner voice, but also to the women in my office, we often find ourselves trapped in stories that we have withstood the test of the time, but not of trust. Oh my God. Not of truth. We underestimate and downplay our abilities, skill, and words. She's shocked at how prevalent imposter syndrome is okay. She's shocked how prevalent imposter syndrome is in so many successful women who feel less than or incomplete. Although men attribute their success to core skills, women ascribe their success to being lucky, working hard, and having support from others along the way. Male students consistently overestimate their grade point average, while women underestimate that when it comes to job hunting, women tend to not even apply for jobs if they don't meet all the qualifications on their position, while men apply if they meet only 60%. Furthermore, upon finding jobs, nearly 60% of men negotiate their first salary, while less than 10% of women do. Okay. Regardless of our age, professional status, or educational background, many of us continue to view our own power and worth in the world as less than. That's the culturally constructed story many women carry to the top-down filter that shaped not only our beliefs and behavior, but also our sense of self. Okay? How the story we've constructed from our social experiences shapes our views of ourselves. I asked the women whom interviewed regardless of age, don't be afraid to shed your mask. You're enough and be who you are. Another message in self-care is selfish. I use the term self-care to include self-compassion. Women often put others first, from family to friends to work, and they believe that not to do so is selfish, self-centered, or self-important. Both societal and cultural expectations, as well as expectations from family, friends, and those who impose on ourselves account for this. For me, I can do it all. I isn't a happy one, and the one I struggled with the most. I haunts me daily. Think about a time in your life when you die, you will enjoy more. Once we move away from these destructive, non-productive, but powerful myths, these inaccurate stories, we can begin to stop feeling less than when our days or weeks don't feel balanced. How could they be balanced? After all, life is messy. The takeaway, expect and accept the messiness. Our days are shaped by planned commitments plus an unexpected. The facts change, but the mystical parade of daily demands and expectations from ourselves and others persists. There is no one simple answer or fix, and a systematic social change is also critical in addressing these messages and myths. However, cultivating our capacity to be present, to see as clearly as we can, means moving one step further away from the magnetic force of these myths and one step closer to more well-being. Not letting state of mind catch me off guard. So she recalibrates thanks to the mindfulness and practice, which includes an important practice in her everyday life, such as mind meditation and take a quiet time. As your view, women value mindfulness as their lifeline. For each of us, mindfulness and practice can build resilience by growing access to our own resources so that it's available when we most need it. As with all of the exercises in this book, the more time you can space, the better. When breathing in, sense and breathe. Okay. Select something you do daily. Let it fill with your entire awareness. Be fully present for it. Thank you email. Send one thank you email to someone who made your life in a little bit better. A little bit better, okay. Digital break. Go offline, perhaps in placing your phone in your drawer or making your screen dark, for just in a few seconds. Repeat when you can. Observe. Pick something ordinary that you wouldn't usually spend time looking at and observe it deeply. Perhaps an apple, a leaf, piece of poetry. Notice everything you can about it. As U.B. Vera once said, you can observe a lot by just watching. Just a few seconds of presence, one breath, and it can make a big, huge difference in our relationships and in our larger lives. Breathing mindfully brings the mind back home to the body in just 2 or 3 seconds. It's a quick way to begin to release whatever mental activity has a hold on you. We can feel free within a few seconds. Don't say it. Be patient and be kind. Good stress. Research shows that women have higher stress levels than men, which may challenge their physiological and psychological well-being. Take a quick pause right now to consider which of these 2 statements best describes how you feel about stress. Stress is harmful and should be reduced, managed, or avoided. Or B. Stress is helpful and should be embraced, utilized, and welcomed. If you selected the first statement, you're not alone. Less than 10 years ago, many psychologists and doctors and scientists crusaded against stress. As you might guess, high levels of stress correlated with a 43% greater risk of dying. What you might be surprised to learn, however, and we caught McGonigal's attention, was the finding that the increased risk applied only to people who believed that stress was also harming their health. Those who reported high stress levels but didn't view the stress as harmful were not more likely to die. And in fact, they had the lowest risk of death in the study, even lower than those who reported experiencing low stress. How amazing and surprising it is. A meaningful life isn't a stressful life. Raising children, managing aging Raising children, managing aging parents, covering college tuition, working hard to heal our planet, or meeting demanding work deadlines can bring high levels of stress, but this doesn't automatically mean bad stress. It may just be evidence of a full life. So stress may actually be good for you. The key is not to get rid of stress, but to change how we relate to it. McGonigal explains it this way. When you think our life should be less stressful, feeling stress can be seen as a sign that you're inadequate. If you're strong enough, smart enough, and good enough, then you wouldn't be stressed. Stress has become a sign of a personal failure rather than evidence that you're human. Not surprisingly, we are more likely to feel overwhelmed and hopeless when we are in the mindset. This underscores why our relationship to stress is so important. Sometimes experiences are so threatening that they can activate our fight, flee, freeze, and even faint response. What psychologists encourage work, author of Mindset, calls it a threat reaction, as in feeling anxious, fearful, uncertain, like I can't do this. Staying in the threat state for long periods of time can negatively impact on our health, even though the initial stress itself was not harmful. However, there are situations where a threat response is appropriate. Situations involving domestic and intimate partner violence create chronic toxic stress and therefore activate threat responses in the individual experiencing it. On the other hand, what threat calls a challenging response, hopeful, excited, confident, I can do this, profoundly changes how demanding situations and impacts our lives. Certain groups experience chronically elevated stress levels as a result of prejudice, discriminations, and the marginalization they face on the basis of their identities. Social, yes, social sciences use what's called a minority stress theory to study why and how minority individuals experience poorer mental and physical health than their counterparts in majority groups. This theory holds true for racial and ethnic, as well as in gender and sexual minorities. Some studies have also taken into account intersectionality and illustrated its prevalence across groups. One study, for example, illustrated the relationship between minority stress and elevated levels of anxiety and depression in individuals. Women with children struggle to adapt their careers and demands of child rearing and are often viewed differently from their male counterparts because they don't fit the mold of the leaders, primarily men who have preceded them. We are often expected to show our unwavering devotion, and the allegations to both work and our children and are held accountable in ways that men are not. Both have a quick smile, gentle spirit, and clear mind that draws you from the first moment you meet them. Permitting all of this is our unconscious and gendered assumptions about what makes a good leader. Although cultural messages and expectations may not that women are supposed to have children or want children, some of us don't, for whatever reason, by choice or not. Let's turn next to the connection between mindfulness and meditation. As I am using the term presence mindfulness and mindful awareness synonymously, as we discussed, you may wonder if meditation is another synonym. The answer is it depends on who is using the terms. There is plenty of confusion. It may help to think of meditation as a larger concept and the mental training that can facilitate our being in a state of mindfulness, mindful awareness, or presence and more often. The word meditation is a catch-all term, so for many ways we can train the mind, just as sports and exercise reports a wide range of different athletic activities, with each type providing its own unique benefits. Although certain mindfulness meditation practices, such as breathing exercises, are associated with relaxation or calm states, meditation is active mental training, and many mindfulness practices can leave us in a feeling invigorated. Studies comparing mindfulness practice to relaxation training show that they have a different effect. So meditation is not necessarily a relaxing activity in and of itself, although it can be. Our minds are aptly called monkey minds by meditation teachers, as they constantly drift and influence, regrets, fantasies, and things other than the opposite of our intended focus. Being a human is very demanding. I have no time to meditate. This may be the number one excuse among people who want to meditate but never get around to doing it. If you are so inclined, give it a try for 1 week. Even 1 or 2 and 3 minutes of meditation a day can make a difference. It's important to meet yourself where you are. I'll lose my edge. I'll become passive and weak. These are myths, and in fact, the opposite is true. Consider that you will develop new strengths and better execute functioning and more focus, which means greater efficiency. I don't deserve it. For those of you who think meditation is selfish, is self-indulgent, and they should not deserve it, consider the words of a mindfulness teacher Sharon Schwarzberg. The first thing you need to be able to say to yourself is, I'm worth 10 minutes a day. When we are most stressed, meditation can be very helpful, so it can be an especially important time to meditate. However, if you are just starting to practice, it can be best if you have the option to do so when you are not in a crisis. Okay. As I've mentioned, that there are many different types of meditation practices, and as with physical training, each type gives us rise to its own unique and the most likely to outcome. For example, one type is mindfulness meditation, which generally includes the cultivation of a focus and attention to open monitoring, a spacious and awareness in whatever comes to mind. And for the researchers that seek compassion or loving kindness meditation. And the first type, focus and attention meditation, which is usually the starting point for the beginning meditator, We aim to center the mind in the present moment by focusing on the chosen single object or a stimulus such as our breath. To maintain this focus, we need to constantly monitor our concentration on the chosen object to avoid mind wandering. As soon as we become aware of a distraction, as we notice our attention is no longer on the designated object or activity, we direct our attention back to the object of our focus. Focus and attention training can help us to begin to have awareness and the management over our attention, strengthening our capacity to sustain our attention and redirect it when it wanders, building the foundation for fully inhabiting the present moment. After we become familiar with focused attention meditation and can take part in the effort to sustain our attention or focus over a considerable amount of time, let's say 15 or 20 minutes for a beginner and more for long-time practitioners, we may choose to try a second kind of meditation called open monitoring meditation, which does not involve any object or event as the focus. The practice here involves a monitoring of awareness itself, that is, we remain open and attentive to whatever experience may arise, without selecting, judging, clinging to, or focusing on a particular object or event. We observe and note the phenomena as they come and go, keeping our attention flexible, which is spacious awareness of whatever comes to mind. Some teachers recommend naming what comes to your attention, such as sound, feeling, or sensation, and then letting it go. The key is that our awareness is open to whatever arises and by choosing get carried away or overtaken by any one thing. We are simply resting in awareness. We can practice an open monitoring informally by taking a moment here and there throughout our day to notice and observe what thoughts, feelings, and sensations are rising for us. Perhaps by setting such as intention before a meeting or a difficult conversation. Similarly, we can set our intention to take in smells, sights, and sensations during a walk, such as feeling the wind on our face. Completely inhabit the present, the calmer we feel. Remember, for as many moments you can be present. That will be enough for right now. Try it out for yourself. Also, please don't forget to treasure informal practices such as much as the formal. Both are beneficial. Most important, please don't be hard on yourself if you don't have a regular formal practice at all right now. Another type of mindfulness meditation, compassion and love kindness meditation, as extending a feeling of love and compassion to others and ourselves, incorporating elements of both focus and attention and open monitoring. Practitioners focus on developing love and compassion, usually first for ourselves, although this can be challenging for some, in which case starting with a loved one or perhaps a pet may work well, and then gradually extending this love to others, from family and friends to strangers, and ultimately to individuals with whom we are experiencing some challenge or difficulty. Loving kindness meditation has been associated with an increase in positive emotions, activation of empathy, an increase in the social behavior, and a reduction in self-criticism, among other benefits. Research has also shown that meditation incorporating all three types of mindfulness meditation, focused attention, open monitoring, and loving kindness, cultivation of well-being in those who practice it. You may be wondering, how does love kind of meditation relate to the other two types of meditation we have been discussing? Here's one way to think about it. Let's say you are doing an open motion practice, that is, setting your attention to pay attention whatever arises, sounds, smells, and sensation of the air on your face. Invariably, your mind will wander, and quite unpredictably, you may find your thoughts turning to something like an argument you had last night with your roommate. Rather than getting upset with yourself, thinking that you can't even do a simple practice and stay on task, reframe your response by being kind of yourself in those split seconds. And recall that mind wandering is ingrained in all of us. One of the most amazing things about a meditation practice is that the very instant you realize that you are not paying attention, you're already in a back task. How many other things in our lives can have such a quick fix? Such as a stable and clear mind, emotional balance, and a sense of love and compassion. One student put it this way, I always thought it was when it happens during the meditation, but that's not it. It's what happens out in my life. Similarly, mindfulness leader Shaman Salzberg reminds us, we don't meditate to get better at meditating, we meditate to get better at our life. Let's turn now to the major health benefits of mindfulness, including reducing stress, strengthening our attention, and slowing the aging process. Anxiety and stress have sometimes been correlated with an active amygdala in the limbic area of the brain, which communicates with a person's survival-oriented brain stem below it, and a listening, story-creating cortex above it. The amygdala is our brain's radar for threat, and it plays a dual role of directing our attention and shaping our intense emotional reactions. A chronically activated amygdala becomes a large amygdala. When we are upset, we become distracted as we review over and over in our minds and whatever is making us anxious. This preoccupation is an example of unintentional mind wandering, which is stressful in and of itself and reduces our ability to pay attention. Take a moment now to identify the one thing that is such a hold on you that you find yourself in thinking about it over and over again. It may be the last thing you think of the night and the first thing you think of in every morning. And if you're like most of us, before the most current issue, there was something else. Just as after this issue passes, there will be another one. What if there were a way to break this exhausting pattern and I get a message to the amygdala? Good news, mindfulness calms the amygdala, making this reactive, thereby decreasing its size and reducing anxiety and stress. By regulating amygdala more effectively, the prefrontal cortex can diminish the activity and size of the amygdala over time. In this way, mindfulness practices and stimulate the growth of a regulatory prefrontal region, maybe how these minds are training out of the structure of the brain and cultivate more emotional stability. With a focus on attention training, the brain is repeatedly engaged in a way that stabilizes an attention, enabling the individual to select and maintain the focus of attention. Notice when attention has wandered, redirect attention to the intended focus, and ultimately become less distractible. With open monitoring practice, we learn to distinguish and experience of being aware from what it is that we are aware of. In other words, we learn to see how mental activities like in thoughts or in feelings are simply objects of awareness, not the total of our identity or absolute reality. Mindfulness training may improve cardiovascular function in several ways, such as lowering cholesterol, optimizing the blood pressure, and helping the brain communicate in a more balanced way with the heart. The heart and the brain have a two-way communication with each other, and a practice in that includes a body scan, which focuses on the interior sensations of the heart region and other bodily area, may be a key component to how this mind training improve physiological functions. That is, to observe their minds activates and become aware that these are just activation of the mind, that is, thoughts, emotions, and memories. This training allowed them to choose healthy over unhealthy foods, builds empathy and compassion. With the presence, we become aware of suffering both within ourselves and in a large world. Empathy can be defined as having a listen to these five facets. One, emotional resonance, feeling the feeling of others. Okay. Perspective taking, seeing through another person's eye. Cognitive empathy, understanding the mind of another person. Empathic joy, being happy for another's happiness and success. Empathetic concern, caring about the welfare of others. The getaway of for compassion. Changing the regulation of gene expression in areas of the chromosomes responsible for their inflammatory response and reduces inflammation. This is called epigenetic regulation. By improving immune function, mindfulness practicing can also help reduce the risk of infection and strengthen how we can recover from various illnesses. Exactly how mindfulness practices can alter these molecular mechanisms of our health is not clear, but research suggests that mindfulness practices may be related to reduction in the stress response. When an organism is threatened, the natural protective response is mobilized. The reactive state of brain and the body in fight or flee. In the short term, this response is quite adaptive and helps us survive. It's great to be able to activate this direct response to enhance your chance of survival, but sustain the states of dread. Also called toxic stress, produce increases in inflammation, accelerate aging, and lead to the higher risk of infection. There may be many ways that mindfulness practice reduces stress and inflammation, enhances immune function, and slows the aging process. Our telomeres are not the tiny but essential ends of the chromosomes that protect our DNA, our genetic library. They are like the proactive and plastic tips at the end of the shoelaces and they keep them from fraying. Think of the shoelaces as our chromosomes, the structures in the nucleus or center of every cell in our body that carry our DNA. As we age, our telomeres get shorter, and when they get too short, our cells can't divide in a healthy way anymore. Our genes affect our telomeres, both their length at birth and how quickly they dwindle down. You may be surprised to learn that how we live our lives and what we do with our minds affects our telomere health as well. How? By influencing the level of an enzyme called telomerase that works on repair, replenish, and maintain our telomeres. Optimal amounts of telomeres dictate healthy telomeres. Presence optimizes telomerase levels. The way we live can speed up or slow down our cellular aging. From the foods we eat, our response to emotional challenges. Several factors influence our telomeres and can prevent premature aging and a cellular level. Show the relationship between stress and ensure telomeres in one of the most highly stressed and caregiver groups of all. Work stress is not related to shorter telomeres, but the burnout, emotional exhaustion. I'm sorry, emotional exhaustion, but burnout, emotional exhaustion from work is. This finding is consistent with what we discussed earlier about good stress, whether from work in any other part of our lives. When something meaningful is at stake, there's an physiological arousal of stress, and the question is how we view the stress. Long-term exposure to stress that we view as harmful to us and can have a negative impact on our health. We can take a step to naturally repair our telomeres. We want to maintain strong telomeres because our cellular health and our tissues and regenerative capacity depends on it. Mindfulness is a robust and predictor of an optimal amount of a telomere, which can increase our health span, the years during which we can enjoy good health, and decrease our disease span, the months of years we may live with a disease and it interferes with our quality of living. Research on the brain involves three types of meditation we've discussed: focused attention, open monitoring, and loving kindness, suggesting why the separately and distinct brain areas become linked when activated. These liquids and differentiated parts of the brain can be called neural integration, which allows for the coordination and balance of various functions that arise from both distinct brain regions and the outcome of their synergistic collaborative functions. In brief, the brain achieves an ultimate regulation of neural activities such as attention, emotion, mood, memory, behavior, and morality through neural integration. A mindfulness practice creates an integrated state that when repeated over time becomes an integrated trait of well-being. Since neural integration creates a mental regulation, you can begin to see how beneficial it is to cultivate more neural integration. Increasing integration may be a mechanism by which mindfulness practice and enhance memory, improve mood, prevent major depression, relapse, and promote resilience and emotional balance in our lives. Okay, mindfulness may be involved in preventing relapse and addiction, including alcohol, drug, and tobacco dependency. Addiction involves fluctuations in the dopamine level in the brain. Meditation decreases the release of dopamine. No one knows for sure how this happens, but one recent finding is that perhaps meditation trains the mind to distinguish the range of signals of like, prefer versus want, need, or crave. One is the getaway to need, craving, and clinging. An alteration in dopamine-based reward circuitry in the brain may support diminished craving, which means less vulnerability to addiction. The capacity that mindfulness creates and distinguishes the experience of being aware from the object of awareness may be an important additional mental skill that would allow those with a history of addiction to feel a craving awareness and put a space between an impulse to use a substance or engage in activity and actual behavior. Within the spaces where choice and freedom arise, mindfulness gives us the power to choose our behavior rather than allowing unhealthy habits or addictions to choose for us. The following table summarizes the major health benefits of the mindfulness training, which includes the strengthening of the attention, open monitoring, and the loving kindness. The benefits in turn have profound positive effects on our executing, functioning, emotional, and cognitive resilience. With the growth of more integrated brain circuits, focus on attention and cognitive efficiency, and enhanced memory. Looking after our minds can be like looking after our bodies. We know what we have to do, but doing it is another matter. We know it's good for us. We know why it's good for us, and it's still hard. We'll be taking more about that in part of purpose. Once you have embraced a commitment, you can not only begin more easily but sustain your practice. Consider starting at a time when you are not in a crisis mode, and a time when you have the mental space to do so. Setting your intention is a starting point, and it's important to be all in so that you can truly commit. Second, we all have an optimal time, whether it's during the day or night, when we will prefer to practice. Although that may change over time, at least initially, it can help to have the same time slot each day to its greatest extent possible. For me, the best time is the first thing in the morning, when I feel refreshed before anything can get in the way. The place can vary from day to day. Although most practitioners find that having a designated space such as a quiet area in your home is helpful in being consistent. The key is to figure out your own way in and adjust or change it as needed, knowing that your practice will evolve over time. One another thing to keep in mind is that your mind isn't the same day to day. Picture your mind as a stream. It's similar day to day mostly, but it's never exactly the same. You may think that over time, your mind will stop wandering or become empty. Although it won't become empty, it will become clearer, so that you will in time be less likely to be carried away by distraction. A sustainable mindfulness and practice plan, the prospect of stapling the practice to something currently in the daily routine is one of the features that brings the students the most optimism and satisfaction. She has a sporadic schedule and a fast-paced life. Research is inconclusive, but duration of a 9, 12, 20, 23, and 30 minutes a day have all been shown to provide positive results. Science suggests that consistency is important as, if not more important than, duration. So even a few minutes each day is better than waiting a couple of days until you hope you will have more time. Regularity is key. So even if it's just 1 minute a day, try doing it every day. Some find it helpful to use an app that keeps track of their streaks, the number of consecutive days. If you want 1 to 5 minutes per day is maximum right now, then that is your optimal starting point. Begin where you are. It may also help to shift your focus from how much time you spend meditating to how much mindfulness you bring into your everyday life. Ask yourself frequently, what's my ability to be and remain present? As discussed earlier, it's important to incorporate and appreciate informal as well as informal ways of cultivating presence, as well as provide benefits.